Hey, good evening, delegates for the SD11 convention in Galveston County. My name, in case you don't know me, is H. Scott Apley. I am the temporary chair for the upcoming convention on the 21st. And I wanted to reach out to everybody tonight and kind of give an explanation and let everybody know where we stand currently with our SD11 convention. As everybody knows, right now, currently, the coronavirus is causing major disruptions in kind of our everyday way of life, and so we've had venues be canceled. Our venue, CCISD, they have closed for the next week, and therefore currently we do not have a venue to hold our March 21st convention. And so me and my leadership team are currently working on alternate venues. But we did have a conference call this morning, 11:30 a.m. We had with the RPT. RPT State Chairman James Dickey was on that call, as well as our RPT State Party parliamentarian Chris Howe and our RPT General Counsel Wade Emmert. And so there was lots of different scenarios that were discussed because different things apply to different SDs and counties across the state, based on the kind of executive orders of that particular municipality. So, as we know, currently the CDC and the state and local governments have basically recommended no meeting of large groups. Specifically, some municipalities are basically not allowing any type of meeting for a group over 250 or groups where there is a considerable percentage of the group that is likely to be in one of the more vulnerable classifications. And based on what we have so far, the most vulnerable class of citizens are ones that are age 75 and older. And so, and we will certainly have a good deal of our delegates who fall into that category. And so, so we are directly affected by what is being recommended by the CDC and local municipalities. So there are a lot of things to take into consideration here, being RPT rules, as well as the Texas Election Code, and as well as the RNC rules. And any type of violation or deviation from those, or putting those in conflict with one another, poses a risk to our delegation being seated as delegates at the state convention and or at the national convention. And so we wanted to make sure that we're taking every step and precaution necessary and coming up with alternative strategies so that we can make sure that we protect our delegation and we get our voting strength and our authority to have an impact on our state leadership, our national leadership, and delegates and electors for Donald Trump when we get to that point. So, based on a Texas Election Code law, we were required to have a posting of the notice of our convention at least 10 days prior to the convention, and it must run continuously. We have met that posting requirement. However, that posting requirement prevents any type of change to the date, time, and place of our location, of our convention, excuse me. So regardless of what happens, we do need to have our convention on March the 21st at 9 a.m. However, there are some parliamentary procedures that can be utilized in order to ensure that we get through that process and we get the business done that we need to, in order to send properly, compliant documents and minutes to RPT through electronic transmission. So at this point, I've been talking with my leadership team, some of the committee chairs, to come up with the best possible alternative plans to conduct our convention, which must be conducted based, again, on Texas Election Code. And what we've come up with is not an ideal situation, but in an effort to protect the safety and well-being of all of our delegates, as well as our greater Galveston County community. This is the direction that we are strongly considering moving forward with. So the number one most important obligation that we have as a Senate District Convention is to nominate and elect our delegates and alternate delegates to the state convention. We are entitled, Galveston County SD11, we are entitled to 136 delegates and 136 alternates. As of the completion of our precinct conventions, we had 182 delegates to the SD convention, pending the work of the Credentials Committee. So, what we are proposing and what we are thinking about doing is we do not want to take a risk or a chance of excluding any qualified member of the Republican Party from being a delegate to our state convention. And just as a matter of note, it is important that everybody understands that you do not need to have been a delegate to the precinct convention, and you did not have to be involved at all, even up until this point. In order to be a delegate to the state convention, you only have to meet a handful of criteria. One, you cannot have voted in the Democrat primary. That seems to go without saying. Second, to be qualified, you must be a registered voter within the district that you are trying to be a delegate for. Therefore, you would need to be in SD11 and in Galveston County. So if you meet those first two criteria, the third is that you must have voted in the Republican primary on March 3rd. So there is one exception and one way to get around that. If, for whatever reason, you weren't able to vote in the Republican primary on March 3rd, what you can do is you can fill out and sign what's called an oath of affiliation. And that oath is basically, it's a legally binding document, and it says that you are certifying that you did not vote in the Republican primary, you did not vote in the Democrat primary, and you are basically acknowledging that you are a Republican for the next 2-year period. If you meet any of those criteria, then you are eligible to be one of those 136 delegates or 136 alternates that we send to the state convention in May, which as of now is still scheduled to go on as planned. A lot of the conventional thinking is of the opinion that this will have run its course and most business operations will be back to normal by then. In the event that that is not the case, the RPT is certainly working behind the scenes on their own contingency plans to make sure that our national delegation is protected and secured. So at this time, I have directed my nominations committee chair, which is Kathleen Nenninger. I have advised her to make a complete roster of our 136 delegates and or 136 alternates, and including every single person in our Senate district who would like to be on that list. So what we are going to be doing, and I'll be helping, and some of the other leadership team will be helping, is we are going to be reaching out to everybody, all of our 182 delegates, all of our local elected officials, and all of the people that we know in the past who have attended who we may not have heard of this time. We are going to make every reasonable effort to include everybody who wants to be, who wants to represent our Senate district at the state convention. Secondly, I have discussed with my resolutions chairman, Gabe Allen. There is no practical way to meet and debate and amend and vote up or down all of the resolutions that were submitted by the precinct conventions. Therefore, we feel in the best sense of fairness, what Gabe is going to do is he is going to make his report, and he is going to make it inclusive of all of the resolutions that were submitted by the delegates at their precinct conventions. I will tell you that I'm sure many of you, myself included, does not necessarily agree with all of them. And had the situation should the situation have been normal, we would have been able to debate them and make a decision as a Senate district on the resolutions that we wanted to send. But if we use any method to pick and choose which of those resolutions are passed on to the state, then I think that we're doing a disservice to the delegates who submitted them in the first place. And so, in fairness, we are going to pass them all onto the RPT, and the Resolutions Committee, Platform Committee for the RPT Convention will be able to discuss and debate and give all of them their kind of their day of discussion, if that makes sense. So there is no mechanism to do electronic voting. We cannot do voting over the phone. We cannot do a web conference. All of these things would violate TEC and RPT rules and our NC rules, and so that is not practical. And again, with all of the precautions that are being taken regarding the coronavirus, it's not practical to meet in person. And we felt that this is the most fair way that we can honor the resolutions that were submitted by the grassroots delegates. Lastly, I have discussed with my rules chairman, Danny Sermon, a couple of supplemental rules to put in place for the convention on the 21st. Two of those that are most noteworthy is there is going to be a supplemental rule that states that once the resolutions report is read, and I go back to what I just said, that resolutions report will include all of the submitted resolutions. It will not be eligible for amending or debate. So what that does is hopefully puts your mind at ease, that there's not going to be a group of people who show up and just vote to kind of hijack the resolutions committee report. We want to honor what we're trying to do here and just send all of those resolutions on to the state for discussion. And then a similar rule for our nominations report. Again, this is not the time to play politics and try to make sure people don't get on the nominations report, or that they do, or anything like that. And so to that effect, we are going to have a supplemental rule that basically says that once Chairman Nenninger offers up the nominations report, that report will be good for an up or down vote only. It will not be open to debate. It will not be open to amending. We want to put everybody's mind at ease, that they can trust the process. They can trust that in these quite unusual circumstances, that we're doing everything that we can to be all-inclusive and honor our delegates. One of the things also that we want to do for that is that we are going to be posting both of those reports online. They'll be on the website. I'll send them out through an email to you, but they will be posted in their entirety. That way everybody will be able to see on Thursday or Friday what that report looks like. And that way you'll know that there were no changes made potentially on Saturday at the convention. We want that to remain. We want everybody to be able to look at it, make sure that their name is on the list, make sure that we didn't miss any friends or anybody that we know that we want on that list. So we want to make sure that we include everybody. It's very important to myself specifically as your temporary chairman, and to the leadership team that I've talked to, as well as RPT and our SREC members. So that will be posted. Now, the way that Saturday is going to look, the reason that we're doing all of this, first of all, I want to clarify something. This is a rule. This is a parliamentary rule. There is nothing that I or anybody else involved with this convention can do to prevent any of you from showing up Saturday morning, right? So if you are not afraid of the coronavirus, if you don't think that there's any precautions that need to be taken, and you are just itching to be at the convention, you are absolutely 100% able to come. And there will be more details to come in the coming days to basically highlight where the meeting is going to be adjourned and reconvened at, right? So we will call the meeting to order at 9 o'clock. I will immediately move to adjourn to a new location, time, and date. It'll be the same date, but so 9 o'clock is when we'll start. I'll probably set it for 10 o'clock at whatever venue I find between now and then, which will be conveyed to you guys ahead of time. It will be posted at Creekside Intermediate for anybody who happens to show up. And so, like I said, there's nothing that would prevent anybody from showing up. So don't feel like this is some kind of circumvention to your ability to participate. We are just trying to be realistic and take every reasonable precaution with the circumstances that we're facing, right? So basically the idea is that if you don't have to come, if you don't feel driven to come, then we're going to ask that you stay home and don't get in the group. Some of us can be completely healthy, but we may go visit our parents or our grandparents, and they might be in a more vulnerable classification. And we don't want to be a risk to any of our neighbors, any of our family members, or anything like that. So we will be. So the plan, I'm sorry, I got off track there for a second. So the plan is to call that meeting to order with basically a very low number of people, probably the leadership team, the committee chairs, some of the people that have been working really, really hard behind the scenes. We'll get together, we will call the meeting to order, and it will be very rudimentary. Everything will be a point of just making sure that we meet our statutory obligations of going through the script and the process and the agenda set forth by RPT and the Texas Election Code, to vote up or down on the resolutions report and the nominations report, and then to adjourn the meeting. So there won't be any lunch, there won't be any snacks or beverages. We had a lot of our local elected officials step up in a big way and support this convention. We had a lot of good things planned, and I'm very disappointed for all the people who've worked hard, for the people who are willing to sponsor our organization and our efforts, and for all of you who wanted to be involved. I know some of you, this is kind of old hat. You've been in several conventions. This will be my fourth convention, and I'm extremely disappointed. I was looking forward to it. We had a lot of good things in store, but there are so many people that this is their very first Senate District Convention, and so they are coming into this kind of with eyes wide open and wanting to kind of take it all in and learn how the process works. And I'm just really, really disappointed that they're not going to get to experience that this year. And I hope that we can find new ways to engage you and get you involved in our GOTV efforts this fall, making sure that we get all of our Republicans elected on the ballot in the general election in November. Make sure that we reelect Donald Trump, keep America great, make America greater, continue the successes that we've seen under our current president's administration. So with that, there's probably a lot of questions. A lot of this is kind of inside baseball rules and all that kind of stuff. And I am by no means a 100% expert. Although after 4 conventions, I feel like I have a pretty good grasp on it. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot of questions. If you have some, here, my cell phone is 936-714-5873. Most of you have my email address. If you don't, it is hsapley@gmail.com. If there are any questions or if there are any concerns about any of this, please reach out to me, and we'll do everything we can to put everybody's questions and concerns at ease. It's just it's a crazy. I'm 44. I've never seen anything like this in my lifetime. So where the entire supply chain and way of life and all major sporting events and everything, the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo, all canceled. It's beyond my ability to kind of grasp at this point. So this is not the way that I wanted this convention to go, but this is just kind of the reality that we are looking at this time. So again, if you have any questions, please reach out to me. I wanted to do a video just because in text, it might have taken quite a few paragraphs to kind of go through this, and then it, like I said, it would be kind of the vernacular of rules and all that, and everybody might not understand it. My hope is that this video goes a good ways to help articulate and make people understand kind of what's going on. But again, if you do not understand completely, or if you have questions, definitely reach out to me, and I will be happy to give you a call and talk you through that and figure out whatever we need to do to make sure that everybody's comfortable with what we're doing here. So I'm about to wrap it up here. Probably already taken up about 20 minutes of your time, and I apologize. One thing, I know that there's probably about 20 people, 25 people who did not leave a email address on their form or a phone number. And I understand, people don't want to get a lot of emails and spam emails and text messages and all that kind of stuff. I really do get it. It's just part of the requirement for going through this process and being a delegate. And RPT on the call this morning, they wanted to really emphasize, we need everybody's phone number and email so that we can communicate with you during this coronavirus situation. So RPT convention is going scheduled as planned, but that could change. And if it does, they have to have good contact information to pass along to the delegates. So like I said, of the 182 delegates that we have for the SD11 convention in Galveston County, I would say we have about 135 emails. We have probably about 10 that are phone numbers, but no emails. I'll be trying to call those people individually. And we have some that's no emails and no phone numbers. So please talk to all of the Republicans in Galveston County, and just check with them. If they have my contact information, if they provided it, make sure we don't leave anybody out because we didn't have a way to get in contact with them. So again, I don't want to take up any more of your time on a Sunday evening. I really wish things were different. It's really unfortunate. I was looking forward to meeting with you guys and conducting this convention. A lot of hard work from a lot of people went into it, and I'll get around to those thank yous and acknowledgments as we get through this. But just know that there's a lot of people who are disappointed that we're not able to do this in the traditional sense. But we're going to try to adapt and be flexible and make this work the best that we know how. So, like I said, Trump 2020, keep America great. You guys have a good night. God bless you. God bless Texas.